Today I'm going to be showing you how my New York City urban garden is doing this fall, what's growing here by this time of the year. It is November, and as you can see behind me, lots of the things are still doing pretty well. There's lots of green around still. We are going to get a little bit of colder temperatures next week, so I wanted to show you how the garden's looking now before the possible frost comes. I still have some summer crops growing. There's some tomatoes, some squash and peppers, and I also have some things that I planted intentionally for the fall. Fall veggies tend to get sweeter when they get touched by snow, by colder temperatures. Those are going to be staying in the garden for a little longer, but I wanted to show you how it's looking at this moment. So this is how the backyard is looking right now. I have this one raised bed here. There's a lot of things planted in there still. There's a pear tree that's already losing most of its leaves. I have some stuff in pots over there, some things that I harvested from the other garden that I have. And on this side here we have some of my vertical planters. I also have another one all the way up there, and this one is actually looking really good. This has some kohlrabi. So this is in the brassica family, and it is a cool weather crop, so it loves the cold weather. It's a little sunny today, so you can see that's kind of wilting a little bit. It prefers the cooler weather, and it is already forming some bulbs. There's some starting to kind of swell here. If you don't know what kohlrabi is, I'll put a picture on the screen and how the mature one will look like. And this planter here has some other things planted as well. I have some parsley that's doing really good. There's some herbs on the top, some rosemary, some lavender back there, and even some strawberries. These are ever-bearing variety, and I still have some strawberries fruiting now in November, which is pretty cool too. So this is one of them looking really good. These crops, I am going to leave here a little bit longer and wait for the cooler temperatures to harvest them. Down here on those pots I have a variety of things growing, but most coolest one is this broccoli that's already forming a head, so we'll be ready to harvest in a few days, hopefully. And I have lots of peppers from summer still. Lots of them are turning red, as you can see here, so I'm gonna go ahead and harvest most of them today. And I have some smaller things on these pots that I planted a little late, and I don't know if they're gonna make it or not, but there's some cilantro in here that also appreciates the cold. There's a broccoli. It's not as far ahead as that big guy over there, but it's okay, we'll see what happens. And on this other green stalk, that's a variety of things. Lots of strawberries on the top here too. The plant started fruiting again once the temperatures kind of got warmer. And there's a carrot over here, some fennel, some other greens down there. There's a beautiful purple kale there that's been there since the spring. On this side up here I harvested some amaranth. This is from the plot garden. Finally got a chance to harvest it, and it's hanging out there to kind of dry because there's some aphids on them. I don't know if you can see, but I didn't want to bring it inside with lots of gray aphids, so I have to just get some time to spray them out or try to clean it. I'm still trying to decide what to do. I'd love to bring them inside to dry it out and use through the winter as dried flowers or something like that, so we'll see. And here I still have some zinnias that the bees are really appreciating. There's no bees at this moment right now, but usually I find them kind of sleeping on the zinnias. That's why I'm leaving this plant here, even though it's looking a little bit stressed out. I pruned it, so it's not looking too bad, but still producing flowers. There's a sweet potato here that I'm waiting for the frost to come to harvest. On this side here we have the green stalk up there. I'll go and show a little bit closer after when I go up to that point. And here we have some kale. This kale is the one I wanted to harvest, but I'm gonna wait. It's been harvesting for a while, so I do want to wait a little longer to harvest when the cold comes, and it's a lot of it, so I'll be harvesting little leaves at the time, but I will just blanch and freeze them with the excess. This one too, looking really beautiful. I love this variety. It's very tasty. So it's lacinato. I'll put the name on the screen down below. Still have some more zinnias here, still blooming. Also leaving them there for the bees. And tomatoes, believe it or not, tons of tomatoes going crazy over here, going up that tree. I've been showing that in the previous garden tours already. A bunch of green ones. I did harvest a bunch of red ones, and there's some there that are turning as well in here too. So hopefully I'll take them, give them a couple more days to take it. And this side there's not a tomato plant that has some Black Beauty tomatoes here. I believe it's kind of a jungle with all the cocomelons that are growing everywhere. I gotta harvest these guys too. I'll look for the tomatoes later, but I think there's some Yeah, they're getting kind of hidden. Make sure you guys can see. There you go. Over there in this tangle. I have to kind of start pruning it back a bit because this is definitely not gonna last that much longer. But the coolest thing in this bed is this one over here. Check this out. Huge zucchini producing this squash plant that's growing crazy. I planted this a little later. If you've been watching, you saw when I did this, but it's producing as some fall zucchinis, which is super cool. I'm gonna harvest that one today as well. Could get a little bit fatter there, but we want to eat it, so I'll take it anyway. And then there's some habanero peppers, a lot more peppers here, some other peppers in this corner that can be harvested. And there's this beautiful nasturtium and basil combination there, just kind of picked back up again after the temperatures cooled down a bit. They were struggling this summer, looking a little bit weak and diseased, and now they're just beautiful and lush again. Another thing that I did here in this bed is that I took advantage of the fall leaves and I just mulched my whole bed with a bunch of leaves that we collected this fall. So this is pretty good. I'm very excited about having this free resource to kind of keep the soil a little bit warmer through the winter and protect the plants that are in there as well. Since this bed here is mostly summer vegetables, once the frost comes and kills them, I'm just going to take them all out and probably cover this bed. But these leaves will still be a great thing for the soil because it will help keeping a little bit warmer, and when they break down they will give some nutrition for the soil as well. Now I'm just going to show you my other vertical planter real quick, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the plot garden and see how things are going in there. First, look how beautiful this green stalk looks. I planted those guys a little bit later and I was afraid they're not going to have enough time to mature, but thankfully they are growing quite nicely. And there's still a few things from the summer here as well. There's a lot of basil that was here from the summer. I left it in there. This one's going to flower, but I'm leaving here as well for the bees because they've been coming here still and foraging. So I know there's not a lot of flowers for them available at this time, so I'm just leaving them so they can still get some food at this time of the year. And below here there's some more kale. I have some parsley. It's looking very nice and green. Been harvesting the parsley a lot for cooking, and it's growing back very well. And then some lemon balm in here. So this is more like my herbs and green stock, and I love it because it's right by my door and it's super easy for me to come and grab stuff when I'm cooking dinner or making some quick lunch for myself. Here I have some more herbs. There's some thyme that I've been harvesting a lot for cooking now in the fall, so there's this big gap here, but it's growing back. I've also kind of pruned a bit and dried a few. I have a couple jars of this dry thyme, but it keeps growing back, which is amazing. And we'll overwinter right here in this spot and grow back next year. This is the second year of that one already. Same with the chives here and the chives over there. Here in this hanging pot I have some radishes that I just sold a couple weeks ago. They're growing. Radishes grow really fast, so I'll probably be able to. I was hoping to enjoy them by Thanksgiving, but I don't know if this will up fast enough. What happens by this time of the year that sometimes things grow really slow because of the lack of sunlight. Once the days start getting shorter, the plants start growing a little slower. I don't know if those radishes are going to be mature for Thanksgiving or not. Look, just gotta be here enjoying the basil. She got a little scared when I moved, but they're still coming. They're still coming here at this time. Right here on the floor I have some of the peppers. They're not doing super well. The leaves are starting to yellow and drop, but most of the peppers are mature, so I'm going to harvest them as well. Those are all very hot peppers. Those are two different kinds of habaneros, and this is a puma pepper, which also has a habanero-like taste. This is probably the third or fourth flush, I can't remember, but I overwintered this and it gave me lots of pepper to the summer, and it's still giving lots of pepper to now, but this will be its last production. I'm gonna cut them all up, harvest everything, and then overwinter these peppers again. There's just one more pepper here. This is a biquinho pepper, Brazilian variety, the yellow one. I have a bunch of red ones everywhere, but it's time for me to harvest those too. Now we're just gonna take a quick walk around the block, and I'm going to show you how the other garden is looking. Here we are, a little windy here, but if you're new here, this space belongs to my neighbor and he lets me garden here. So let me show you how it's looking. A little bit messy. It's definitely fall here. There's leaves everywhere. I have to come find some time to start to tidying it up, but it's been a few days since I've been here. But here on this side, I had a bunch of flowers and most of them are already gone. I did sow some clover seeds as a cover crop, and you can see that some of them are taking off. And I'm gonna give it a try of overwintering some snapdragons, but we'll see if that's gonna work or not. That's why I have some hoops in there already set up for that. Other than that, everything looking very different than last time. Nothing is really going the trellises anymore. These flowers are surprisingly still doing good. The marigold and the zinnias. The zinnias do have powdery mildew on them, but they've been producing flowers, so I'm also leaving them in there until the frost comes and kills them. The marigold, I came in the other day, harvested a bunch to dry, and still produced a bunch more, so there's also going to stay there. There's some tomatoes in here that I'm also going to leave until the frost comes and kills it. It's been hard for me to come and spend a lot of time tending to this and cleaning up, so now I'm just gonna let the frost do its thing, and whatever survives, it survives. But I have a bunch of cool other crops around here everywhere. You can notice that I also put leaves on the ground to try to use it as mulch and warm the soil a little bit for the things that are planted. Those are mostly brassicas over here. They're very tiny in the last garden tour, if you have watched that. Now they're picked up a lot. They're not growing as fast as I thought they would because of the daylight. Again, as I mentioned just a few minutes before, this bed is the one that's doing the best. And check this out. I have a bunch of baby cauliflower everywhere. They're not as big as they could have been, but I'm very happy that for the first time I'm actually getting some brassicas in the fall. The last couple years that I gardened, I actually didn't have anything in the fall. I tried to plant this stuff, but I planted too late and they just ended up overwintering and producing stuff in the spring. This year, I also planted too late. I was a little bit out of time. I had a busy summer and it was hard for me with the planning and scheduling, but for the first time, I'm going to have some stuff to harvest this growing season. Even if they're tiny, I don't mind. I'm gonna see how big they can grow, what we'll be able to get before it gets really, really cold. So it's mostly cauliflower in there. I have some Napa cabbages and regular cabbages. There's a broccoli here that's also producing, some variety that's producing in a container in my backyard. So that's all cool. It's kind of like an experiment. It's been working out good. So encouragement for you that try to plant stuff anyway, even though you think it's too late. Sometimes it works, and if it doesn't, they could overwinter like happened to me last year, or you could just take them out, put in the ground to feed the soil as green manure. So it's always nice to try things. And here too, this bed is a little bit, these are a bit smaller. I did put a lot of arugula in here as a cover crop, was over the whole bed, and I think that kind of stunted the other brassicas that were here. So I tried to pick them out, and now I covered them with leaves. I only did this last 2 weeks, so it's kind of recent, and I hope that would also help feed in the soil and give them a little bit more nutrients. But this guy is super tiny and has a cauliflower in it, so it's kind of funny. But we're gonna eat this and we're gonna be very appreciative, and I'm sure it's still gonna taste really, really good. There's still a few summer crops growing here too. Those are all peppers. It's getting cold, so some of them are drooping and having their leaves getting a little yellow, but they're still producing peppers. I did harvest a bunch the other day here to make some maple pickled jalapenos, and there's still a few growing more and producing. This is another Puma pepper that didn't do very well this summer compared to my overwintered one, but still here. Also, I'm going to leave this in here until the frost kills it. On this bed over here, I had a bunch of squash, a few other things. Now, took it out, cleaned it up, and this is purple sprouting broccoli. This one is intentionally going to overwinter here for next spring. This spring I actually grew purple sprouting broccolis. You can go check out my garden tours to see that they did not produce ahead because they require overwintering to produce. So the year before I did overwinter some, but I decided to plant some this year anyway, because I kind of didn't plant very well last year. They didn't produce in the spring. So lesson learned. I know I shouldn't plant in the spring, but now it's fall. So these are all planted here with the intention of being overwintered, and hopefully I'll have some nice purple sprouting broccoli very early in the season. They tend to produce by April, I think, even March sometimes. So we'll see. I will keep you guys updated. I already set up some hoops in there too and put the leaves to keep the soil warm. So once the temperatures get really cold, they are able to overwinter up to zone 7 without covers. But I'm going to cover them anyway because I have the covers, so why not? And I'm gonna just, once it gets really cold, probably like December, January, and February, they will have a frost cover on top of them to help them doing the overwintering processing a little better. So here I still have a dahlia that's growing, but I'm letting it all go to seed. And I'm actually thinking that I might collect some seeds from the seed pods just for an experiment next year and see if I can grow some of them. So I'm waiting for this to die, for the frost to come and kill it, and then once that happens, I'm going to try to dig out my tubers for the first time. So I'm gonna dig this up and see if I can save tubers for next year. This was my first year growing dahlias, and I absolutely love them. They were so beautiful. It's probably my favorite flower in the whole garden. So I would love to try to overwinter my own tubers. We'll see how that's gonna go. I'll try to film a video when it's time for me to go ahead and dig it up too. But if you have any suggestions or any tips or anything that you want to share with me right now, please drop them in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you and see how you do it. And I also have another dahlia here that was full of powdery mildew, but I'm also going to wait until frost comes to dig it up. So I have two to go from. Hopefully one of I'll be able to save some. And here I planted some lettuce. This one is looking really good. Those are some Asian greens actually, and lettuce, so it's all mixed up. These guys, I don't remember, was in a package, mixed packaging, looking really good, kind of taking over everything. There's some weeds, gotta weed this up. Some bok choy here on the side, and I have some, I think it's also Shijimisai over there, not sure, but Asian green growing, looking very nice too. And some lettuces, some Japanese mustard. So this bed here, I'll see if I'll cover too. I didn't set up the hoops yet, but we will keep harvesting a few leaves through the winter. This kale here we've been harvesting too. Actually my neighbor harvested a bunch, which I'm very glad. This one too, they've been producing through the whole summer, this and that one, so they just came and harvested. That's why it's looking so puny, but they will overwinter too. Kale overwinters very well. It's very cold resistant, so we're gonna let it overwinter again this year. Here I have some purple Napa cabbage that I don't know if it's gonna survive the cold temps or not, but we are leaving this here for a few more weeks to see if it will grow a little bit more. Over on this side, I only have a couple Napa cabbages in here that are much bigger than the purple ones, you can see. So these are doing well, but again, it's getting too cold and these are getting too short, so I'm not sure how much longer they will really grow. Here I have some zinnias that are also struggling with powdery mildew but producing flowers, so they're staying there also until the frost comes, and a couple other beds of brassicas. Here in this corner I have this huge sweet potato that I don't even remember planting here. Probably just throw a few leftover slips or tuber even, I don't know, and they're just taking over. So also waiting for the frost to come to dig it up and see if they're producing anything down there. So this is how our pot garden is looking in the fall. So now I'm gonna go back home and get some baskets to do some harvesting over there in the backyard. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate you being here, especially if you watched all the way to the end. If you did, please let me know and leave me a comment in the comment section down below. As always, you can like and subscribe if you'd like to see more updates from us and how our garden is doing here in New York City. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you next time.